Okay, we are now live. Hey, everybody,
Hey.
welcome back to Cryptid and Paranormal Kingdom with Carlito and Tom. I have a very interesting guest tonight. His name is Matt, as you can see on the screen. He has his own group and channel as well on YouTube. You guys might want to check him out. He's got some really good content where he goes into the woods and he does his own explorations. And the name is Squatching South Florida. Also, Matt, how you doing, man?
I'm doing all right, brother. Good to see you.
Good, man. Good, man. Good to see you too, bro. Thanks for being here tonight. And well, I did want to kind of cover a little bit about you, man. If you could tell us a little bit about you, you know what I mean, a brief bio. Tell us how
Yeah,
you
yeah,
started.
sure.
Tell us how long you've been in this, cryptid stuff. Yeah.
For starters, I've been into cryptids for a long, long time.
Hmm.
My very first encounter with a cryptid was when I was 8 years old, which was a Sasquatch.
Right. Yeah. Which you're
And
gonna tell us all about here
I,
in just
I'll
a
I'll
few
get into
minutes.
this. I'll get into that whole
Yeah.
story. Coming up
Okay.
soon.
Hmm.
Always followed, shows like Destination Truth, Finding Bigfoot, Monster Quest, all those types of shows. You know, those types of things were very mainstream in the era that I grew up as a millennial. And, but even though it was on main TV and mainstream, it wasn't necessarily a mainstream kind of thing.
Hmm.
And it wasn't something that was just generally accepted by anybody.
Hmm.
And, um, you know, going forward, I mean, I was always interested in the topic, to seal that fact.
Hmm.
Flash forward to 2019, I ended up having another close encounter with what I understand now to be Sasquatch. And at the time, I didn't realize that was Sasquatch behavior for that.
Hmm.
And then flash forward again to 2021, the year where we're all trying to get past COVID and do things different.
Hmm.
And my mom, who's not a boss in the chat right now, she
Oh, really?
always, yeah, man, she
Wow.
follows me.
Okay.
She goes whenever I'm on, she's gonna be here. She's gonna be, you
Okay.
know, it's
You know what?
just.
I've seen her in a few lives before. I think it was either mine or Tom's or
Oh yeah, man.
Marvin. She's been in there.
Yeah, man, because she's been into the YouTube part of it for much longer than I have.
Oh, okay.
Um, I didn't get into the YouTube side of it until I started also doing the boots on the ground research, which was back in last November.
Okay.
So, as far as boots on the ground research, not just self at home study of the subject, boots on the ground research and trying to experience these phenomenons and understand these phenomena started November last year. And that's where we ended up meeting Bigfoot and On out there, and a couple other guys. We met Stacy Brown Jr.
Mm-hmm.
All the guys from Outcast Paranormal were there. We had some of the Mid Florida research group there too, and it was a really good time. And all the people there were amazing. They showed us all kinds of love, and the beautiful part about that trip was the fellowship aspect of it. Like it was unreal. You know, Here me and my mom were coming from South Florida. We drove up there, and everybody was so friendly, everybody was so nice, everybody was taking care of each other. And you don't kind of get, especially nowadays where we are all focusing on social distancing and staying away from each other.
Right.
You don't get a lot of kindness these days. And
No.
it was really such an amazing thing to see. And that day, well, I should say that weekend, but mainly that first Friday night that we were there, I mean, we had paranormal stuff going on the ghost tour. We encountered a UFO out there in the field looking for Sasquatch.
Mm-hmm.
We get all the way back, and then we find we hear some real banshee like howl off in the distance, and then all night. We brought an audio recorder because we didn't have like all these research tools yet.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We just brought an audio recorder and some regular cameras and stuff, and it was a blast. It really was. And the next, overnight, we were having stuff thrown at our tent. You could hear stuff being thrown at Connor's tent. We caught some really strange like monkey chatter type of sound. It was like very similar to like what the Sierra sounds actually sounded like. And we also found some hair. And the next morning, we also found some prints. And I still stand by the fact that the hair that we have is definitely some sort of unknown animal, because guess what? I had this analyzed, looked underneath a microscope, and and the guy who was running the microscope was Tim T from Florida. He has a YouTube channel of his own, and he's been collecting these hair samples for I forget exactly how many years he's been doing this, but he has multiple hair samples that that he's been trying to get analyzed. And just like mine, I couldn't get mine analyzed either. None of them are still not analyzed. But as far as like visual aspects, he was able to see it underneath his own microscope. And there's clear hairs that turn into brown hairs, that turn into black hairs, that turn into green hairs, that turn into just straight clear. Some of them are red.
Wow.
And you tell me what animals down here in South Florida do that, because I can tell you
Right.
there are no mammals that have hair like that, or at least
Right.
ones that are known.
Mm-hmm.
So it was just stuff like that, man. Like we had and like Connor said, yeah, there was the first night they also got some really nice thermals. What looked like there was like maybe 2 or 3 cows on the ground, and then there was this one massive heat signature that was up in a tree. Which was like similar to the size of the cow. So, I mean, you guys, I take my word for it or not, the information's out there. But anyway, it was, and that was the start of it. There was some other strange things that happened during that trip. Stuff taking over my phone. We got some strange EVPs talking at the Tatum house, which was like a haunted house on site where we were staying. And we just got all kinds of stuff there. And at the end of that weekend, I had what I'd like to describe as a spiritual awakening.
Mm-hmm.
And it was amazing. I was hooked. Like, I was like, no, like, I can't, like, this is what I'm doing with my life. This is what I'm supposed to be doing with my life, even if it's just me doing this for fun. Even if I don't freaking make the discovery that any of this stuff is real, I'm going to do my best trying to. And that's just kind of the route that I've taken it. Shortly after, I think Connor was the one who told me to get involved, to go on. I think we went on Mogi on Monster. Was the first one that I did. And I went on there and, shared about the weekend or whatever. And I realized, I was like, man, I really like doing that. I mean, sure, his show was super late at night and I was so tired, and it was probably like the worst show I've ever done. But
Yeah, you were telling me about that. Yeah.
but it was great, man. Like it made me realize, like, yeah, like this is what I'm supposed to be doing. Like that just felt so right.
Mm-hmm.
And since then, man, I've just been trying to like line up all the synchronicities in my life, and get further and further into this research. Like I'm doing like nonstop. I'm freaking, my phone's off the hook. I'm setting up new guests. I think right now I'm like booked all the way through almost the end of March,
Wow.
as far as people I already have lined up. And like, I'm doing the networking thing. I'm also doing the boots on the ground research thing. Like, I went out today. I'm going out again tomorrow morning.
Mm-hmm.
And which Unfortunately, that's why I am gonna have to maybe keep this one from going over too late. But I'll do my best because I do like to
Yeah.
talk.
No, that's fine, man. That's fine.
but
That's why we're here, man.
but
You know.
I've met so many people. I'm gonna keep meeting even more and more people,
Yeah.
and
Yeah, that's the way
you
this
know
is. You
most of the
you meet more people, and your circle gets bigger. You know what I mean?
yeah, man, and like sure, yeah, most of it's networking.
Mhm.
Oh, but the way that I see it is like I'm not seeing it as like I want to use somebody for their knowledge. I want to
Mhm.
learn from somebody. Like
Exactly. That's
I
the way
want
I see it.
like I'm not
Yeah.
trying to go out here and be like, "Hey man, I want you to take me to your spot and I want to be
Hmm.
able to get a picture and then I'm going to say that I got it." No. I want to learn. I want to go with you. I want to learn your technique. I want to be out there and experience this stuff with you. And because that's what it's all about, man. Like a lot of these researchers, I personally don't like to call myself a researcher. I'm not doing this from a completely 100% bulletproof scientific standpoint. And I also don't fully believe that that's the correct approach. That's just me.
Right.
I believe that here we are. Let's just talk about from the date that the Patterson Gimlin film came out, right? That's like the most infamous film that ever came out of Bigfoot, right? We're just going to
Hmm.
talk about that.
Hmm.
And, you know, where are we from there?
Right.
Like,
I don't
where are
think.
we have not come much farther.
No. No.
We,
That's what I'm
we
gonna
have
say.
had a lot of technology advance, but we still have zero shred of tangible evidence. Like, sure, yeah,
Yes. Exactly.
we still have casts, we still have
Yes.
hair samples that just mysteriously go missing in labs.
Hmm.
We still have people that do DNA research that have their entire reports shredded, or they lose their credibility in their in their scientific community, et cetera, et
Right.
cetera, et cetera. And we have people putting out all these films, from all over the country, all over the world of their evidence. And then what do? We get on the internet and we bash them. We rip it apart. We call them a hoaxer. We say this is a porcupine, that's a porcupine. And, we call it a day. And because and I'm not going to say we, I'm going to say most,
Hmm.
most of the community, for whatever reason, is at odds and ends with each other. And I think part of the problem is that most people think that it has to either be flesh and blood, and the other side of that thinks that it's something beyond just flesh and blood, and that they don't think it's flesh and blood. They think it's maybe something paranormal or UFO related.
Hmm.
And what I found in my research is that all of this is, I call it research, right? I call it research because I'm trying to dig towards the truth, and I'm using logic and reason to determine what that is, to analyze that for myself.
Hmm.
Even though I don't necessarily like it being research. I'm going out there for understanding.
Right.
I'm going out there for knowledge. Everything that I'm doing is to increase my knowledge. I'm not sitting here trying to put things into a catalog. I'm not trying to prove that it exists because I already know it exists.
Hmm.
Finding, one of the things a friend of mine loves to say is like finding Bigfoot was the easy part,
Hmm.
and it's 100% true.
Hmm.
And you know, you can find Bigfoot wherever you are, whether you're in Texas, whether you're in California, whether you're in Florida, whether you're in Maine, whether you're in Australia or the United Kingdom. I've seen a guy who he follows my channel, and he's from Ireland, and he finds some of the coolest stuff I've ever seen as far as like tree structures go. And he's in
Hmm.
freaking Ireland, man. He's in Ireland,
Wow.
and
Wow.
you would never think that there'd be a Sasquatch out there in freaking
No. No.
Ireland. But sure enough, man, he's finding evidence of him, and he's got some pretty blurry pictures and things like that. But hey, what's one thing that's been common since Patterson Gimlin film? Blurry photographs, blurry
Yes.
images. Don't you
Yes.
think that there might be a reason for that? Like, we're going to talk about
Right.
logic, right?
Right.
So, out of how many Bigfoot pictures that are all, like let's just say if we took every single picture of Bigfoot that we could find on the internet and put it into a catalog and go, how many of these are crystal clear? It's going to go zero.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, why is that? Maybe there's something about them, either whether it's
Do you think it
biological
could
reason.
be? Yeah,
Well, good.
that's what I was gonna say. Do you think it could be the advanced technology of the cameras nowadays because they're all digital, and the one that was in Patterson Gimlin was one of those 8 millimeter cameras, the ones like analog. Do you think that might have something to do with that?
It may or may not.
Hmm.
But I'm going to tell you, I want to share something interesting with you. Is that
Yeah, yeah.
tomorrow I'm bringing a film camera
Oh, okay.
because I want to see, and one of the reasons I'm bringing a film camera too is because one of the guys that I go with happens to have a lot of, let's just say, electrical difficulties happen around him.
Hmm.
So I wanted to have something that was analog to be able to. It's an old Minolta Maxim, and
Yeah,
yeah, you know what that camera is. That's
yeah,
an old
yeah.
camera,
That's an old camera.
and that was back when they were starting to go from film to digital. It was like right there in the middle.
Yes.
It
Right.
has a
Yeah.
one tiny little digital, like an old school clock, like alarm clock or whatever. Yeah, but it's an awesome camera, great lens. So
Yes.
I've had that thing for years. I've just been holding on to it, waiting for the time that I might be able to use something good with it. And hey man, maybe I'll get a picture of Sasquatch tomorrow. I don't know, but it could also be that we have, let's just call them opposing forces that are messing up our technology.
Yeah. That's what I think it is.
Maybe we could also have, let's just say, we could be dealing with a creature that has the ability to distort your cameras,
Right. Right.
or to let's go even a step further, that can distort your memories.
Oh, yeah.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
that's another one. Yeah.
Maybe it just looks blurry because that's how you remember it. I
Yeah,
don't know.
because we don't know
Yeah.
exactly what kind of powers they have. You know what I mean? I
Hey
was just
man,
looking the other day that what was it? Dog. I think it was today, earlier today or yesterday, that Bigfoot and Dogman can expand their brain to 50%, bro. Where we humans can only do 10%. So I said, I'm like, wow, dude, that's a lot. So if that's true, then they're way more intelligent than we are. You know what I mean? And that we don't give them credit for.
hey man, like as far as the dog man goes,
Hmm.
uh, let's just say like I prefer to not take a stance on the dog man,
Hmm.
and the reason being is because I'm very conflicted as from what my research has showed about the dog man
Hmm.
and what I've heard, it being kind of, I'm not going to say they're not intelligent. They're definitely an intelligent creature
Hmm.
like a cryptid to an extent. But their motives, then their behavior has not been consistent. I can talk to one guy about it. Like I had Vic Cundiff come on my show, and he was talking about how the Dogman is not an aggressive person, and out of all of his almost 40,000 accounts that he has
Hmm.
collected, only 5 of them have ever been violent. And he says a couple of them could have been attributed to Sasquatch too. It's like the you know it the he can't be he can't be certain. Like the details were like unknown, so it could have been anything. That being said, because I've never seen a dog man, I don't doubt that they exist. There's enough historical evidence that says it might be possible. There's enough accounts that say it's probably probable.
Hmm.
And as far as empirical evidence, I don't see a lot. I see a lot of blurry photos that are very, very odd. And until the day that I see a dog man, I'm not gonna sit here and say one way or the other about it. I'm
Right.
gonna say
Right.
but what I will say is that it is a phenomenon.
Yes.
And like I know a guy who says that he's seen one, and he's probably one of the most trustworthy people I know.
Mm.
And he was with another friend of mine who encountered the same thing, and said he's seen it too. And it's my cat. He
Oh.
decides that he likes to jump on me in the middle of my streams all the time. And I have it dark in here, so that way I don't need to like throw up a blurry background image or whatever. And it's dark, and all I see is the light in front of my eyes. And he just freaking comes out of the woodwork, just jumps on me. So like last show I was on, I had to freaking cut myself out and put him down. He's bad, but anyway, you know, I just look like I'm not gonna say. I just don't want to say like one way or another. I'm
Hmm.
nowhere by any means a dogman expert.
Right.
But what I can say about the available information about the dogman, like it just doesn't like we have a whole bunch of people who sit there and say that they're evil, that they're skinwalkers, that whenever you see a dogman, you need to be afraid and you need to run, and all these
Right.
that they're there to harm you. And then you have a bunch of other people who say, "Oh, well, no, 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 they're just misunderstood." Yeah, sure, they get aggressive, but they never harm people. And then you have the people in the middle who are like, I would like to call my trustworthy friends that I just mentioned.
Hmm.
Well, they said that it didn't do anything aggressive to them, but it definitely was giving off some really bad vibes.
Hmm.
And it's just it's one of those things that I don't like to say one way or another. I don't know. I've never heard anything about dogmen using any specific part of their brain. But what I can tell you is that firsthand, I've experienced Sasquatch doing some unexplained things to me
Hmm.
and being aware of some unexplained things. One of my favorite stories, and people are gonna hate me for probably bringing this guy's name into this,
Hmm.
but Todd Standing. He has a he has a video where
Hmm.
he's talking about the account of somebody who was from the UK who just happened to backpack through one of his research areas, and they ended up having an encounter. And the most interesting part of the encounter was that another Sasquatch, I'm not going to get into the whole thing, but another Sasquatch
Hmm.
was talking to the one Sasquatch who was trying to abduct the woman that was on the hike. And he
Hmm.
came out and he said three words: Kubota something. I can never remember what the middle one is. Ina, which is the woman's name. How did he know what her name was to tell the other Sasquatch to put him down?
Right.
And that that story right there, included with a bunch of other research that I've done,
Hmm.
and experiences that I've had, it's safe for me to make the assumption, I think is the right way to put that, that they are way more intelligent than we give them credit for.
Yeah.
Potentially even more intelligent than us, because we're not sitting there looking at phones all day that tell us what to do.
Yeah, and because they
We're
can
not.
get away before we get there. You know what I mean? I mean that's telling me that they're more intelligent than we are. You know,
Yeah.
with all our technology that we have, they have no technology. You
All
know what
right.
I mean?
Well. See, here's my thing. I'm not going to say that they're more intelligent than us.
Hmm.
I guarantee you, if I took a eighth grade math equation and I put it in front of a Sasquatch, it's not going to know what the fuck to do. It's not going to know how to do. Excuse my language. I'm sorry. I don't know if it was cursing on your stuff, but
That's all right.
it's not going to know long division. It's not going to know the quadratic equation. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And I'll tell you why. Because that's stuff that man made. Sasquatch doesn't associate itself with things that man made.
Hmm.
It doesn't even really want to associate with stuff anything to do with humans.
Hmm.
They're trying to be reclusive. They're trying to not be found. And they have been for thousands and years. So, but what I will say is that they're definitely more in tune with their environment than we are.
Oh yeah,
They're
definitely.
way better at adapting to their environment than we are.
Yep.
And I think that they are more spiritually intelligent than any of us could ever imagine. And I think they're also very emotionally intelligent too. And I'll tell you why I think that is because of my story
Mm-hmm.
and what I've encountered. Not going, jumping right into the my first encounter with them, but the second encounter of them.
Mm-hmm.
I was going through a really hard time in my life,
Mm-hmm.
and long story short, I literally booked a trip to the Smoky Mountains for me to kill myself.
Whoa.
And I took a flight up there. I rented a car. I drove into the mountains, and I had told myself that I was gonna enjoy one last day doing what I love to do, which is one of my passions has always been to fish,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what I was gonna do. So by the time I got about like 100 yards away from the car, I started hearing like these pops, these knocking noises.
Mm-hmm.
And I just assumed that it was like things falling out of pine cones falling out of trees, or acorns dropping or something. I don't know. I just chalked it up to whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I was there with a mission, and I get to the spot that I wanted to, which was the spot where two rivers met, and I just kind of sat there and fished. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. It's
I
okay,
get,
man.
I get,
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it,
yeah. You get a
it,
little
it,
worked
it,
up. Yeah.
it chokes me up. This
Yeah.
one, and
Yeah.
it chokes me up too because a lot of times my mom's in this chat.
Mm-hmm.
You know, my loved ones watch the stuff that I do,
Mm-hmm.
and I like part of me is ashamed to tell this story because of where I was at and how much of an idiot I felt like,
Mm-hmm.
because I was gonna do it, and I literally just finished doing a video last rites. Like I was doing my last will and testament, recording it, finished it, and was about to do what I was about to do, and it was like,
So you got to that point. You got to that
oh,
point where you were gonna do it.
I was gonna do it. I was literally seconds away from doing it, and I
Wow.
heard a Ken Griffin Jr. home run, grand slam derby, whap, bow, come right
Oh.
from behind me, and it freaked me out. And in that moment, I realized I felt so alive, and I
Mm-hmm.
was immediately scared because I was like, "Holy crap, what was that?" And I realized I didn't want to die just yet.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next thing I know, it was just like this overwhelming sense of peace and knowing that what I was doing was wrong, and I needed to get out of there, and I needed to turn my. And I like no matter what was going on, I couldn't give up just yet.
Mm-hmm.
And I went back and I handled my shit, man. Because I was going through a really rough divorce, man. I'm not gonna sit here and get like too into the details, but it was really nasty. It was really ugly. I didn't have a lot of people in my life at that time. Not even at that time, my mom wasn't really necessarily around either because her and my ex wife, they did not get along, and they
Mm-hmm.
had they would fight like cats and dogs, and I had never been so alone and so isolated in my entire life. And you know, I I never am gonna get like that again. Never. And I feel, for me personally, and this might not be for everybody,
Mm-hmm.
I don't care about proving whether or not Sasquatches, dog ban,
Right.
UFOs, any of this stuff exists. No. This for me is a spiritual journey. This is about spiritual awakening. This
Right.
is about bringing that light to other people in this world. You know, as hard as it is for me to share that story, I share that story because there's a lot of people in this community right now who are struggling. And they're struggling because of people in this community too. Here they are, all they want to do is just share their evidence with the world, their findings with the world. And then they get ragged on, man. They get
Right.
put down. They get told that they're a hoaxer. They get told that they're a liar and that they're crazy and they're wrong. And it's just like, yo, man, this is the way I like to see it. Because in my head, right, and this is for me. You know, anybody listening can take it or leave it. I was raised a Christian, right? I was raised a Christian, and then I pushed that down, and I became more spiritual, right? Say that word. And one of the reasons that I like to say that is because I've had an awakening. Now, for me, Christianity will always be my foundation because that's how I learn to understand a power greater than myself, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, if we're talking about the Bible, one of the very, in the very beginning, we talk about like the Tower of Babel, right? The Tower of Babel, when it fell, suddenly all these people who had always been around each other could no longer understand each other. And what did they do? They took their information, everything that they knew at that moment in the world, and they left each other, went to different corners of the world, and they started their own whatever it was. Whether that's Islam, Buddhism, Taoism, any of these other religions, they all have a piece to the pie that is the word of God.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Technically, that's, if we're talking about one of the oldest books, right? Now, what if everything is like that? So what if, your encounter story and my encounter story and Connor's and Long Island Bigfoot and Nana and Iron Dogger, everybody's experiences are all just one piece of the puzzle that we need to all come together and work on so that way we can have a better understanding of why people like us are encountering these things. And some of us are encountering them multiple times a week, sometimes every day. We know a guy who, I haven't seen him in the chat, but he's a good friend of ours, Flat Rock Booger.
Oh yeah.
He has them on his property, and he is constantly being, interacting with them every day, almost every day of the year, because these things are real. Or at very least, the phenomena is.
Mm-hmm.
So either we're all just insane, or we're all experiencing something.
Right.
And that's the beauty of it, but we're never gonna understand what that is until we're all working together. And we gotta stop using negative terms like hoaxer and liar and cheater and all these
Faker.
different faker, whatever you
Yeah.
want to call it, man. This is what we need to stop. And another thing too that we also need to stop is trying to immediately explain the unexplained with science, because that doesn't work. I'm sorry, but not that science isn't real, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Science is man's understanding of the natural world around us so far,
Right.
okay?
Mm-hmm.
So far. It doesn't mean that science is going to not be able to prove Bigfoot, Sasquatch, UFOs in some way. It just hasn't yet. So when we hear things like, oh, I seen this Sasquatch go into a portal. Oh, I seen this UFO drop off a Sasquatch. Oh, the list goes on of strange and unexplained things that people experience in regards to these phenomena. We can't just immediately put it, because it doesn't immediately fit into a known scientific category, doesn't mean that we can dismiss it.
Exactly. Exactly. Hey, I have a question from Al Sanarica. He says, "What state did this take place in?"
Which My
I think
last
he's
encounter,
referring. Yes, I
the
think he's
encounter that I
referring to
shared so far,
that. Hmm.
that was in North Carolina, and that's all I'm gonna say.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
All right. No,
I
thank you.
took a trip.
Okay. Thank you.
That's all. Yeah, but yeah, man. So now I'm just in the groove, and I'm networking and applying different experiences and experiments everywhere I go. I worked on part of what my experiment was today, and I got to see how it unfolds tomorrow. Because I'm currently trying to use, let's just say, paranormal research techniques applied to Bigfoot.
Hmm.
And, not everybody likes to hear that because it's like, oh, you're going to use something that's like, not really accurate to try and prove something, the existence of something. Well, no, 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 no. They're misunderstanding the point. The point is I want to, my main goal of all these different experiments
Hmm.
is to see if I get more reaction being a spiritually driven experiencer
Hmm.
than you going out there and banging on trees and hooting and hollering
Right.
and just pointing your cameras and shooting. I want to see if I can, with a little person. I'm confused by that, Laura. Um, I imagine you're talking about a puckwudgie.
Okay.
Uh,
Okay. He's a little person. Yeah, I guess so.
yeah.
Yeah, would have to be Puck Budget.
Oh, Jackie, I'm so sorry. I completely forgot where I was going with that. Oh, so not a puckwudgie. Are you talking about a leprechaun, a troll, or a goblin? Fairies?
Yeah,
I could talk about fairies
there's a lot
if
of
you want
little
to.
people.
There's a lot of little people.
Yeah.
I'm one of them. I'm only 5'8". Listen,
That's not bad, bro.
a Cherokee. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Laura. I don't know. I'm not sure what you're referring to, but listen, if anybody wants to contact me,
Hmm.
my email is in the description of my YouTube channel. Feel free to reach out to me, send me an email anytime. Hey, listen, if you just want to talk, one of the things I like to say in my shows, like, I don't. If you want to share your encounter with me, I'll be glad to hear it. If you want to share with me that something's going wrong in your life, I'll be glad to hear it. If talk about it, help people. We're more than just people sitting behind a screen talking about Bigfoot or
Right.
Sasquatch or, I'm sorry, or the paranormal, whatever. We're all people at the end of the day, and we're all put here to help each other. Hey, Flat Rock, glad to see you finally showed up, buddy.
Yeah,
Um,
just popped up.
you know, um, I always like to listen to people. I had a lady. I just
Good.
shared that encounter that rock people. I think that's what
Right,
this
rock
is.
people. That's what I was gonna tell you.
Oh, okay,
That's what she's
okay.
meaning.
Ah, okay, all right. Um, so, um, let's see, where was I going with that line of thought? I don't know, man. This happens to me. It
No, it's
happens to me a
okay.
lot. I
It's
start getting
okay, brother.
distracted, and you know,
Yeah, yeah, that happens to me
I
a
I
lot too.
have
And you know what? I think it's that's a man. I can't find the word right now. See, that's it's going on right now that I'm thinking so many things are all at
it's
one
part of
time.
creative genius.
Yes, and above average people think a lot of things at the same time. So when they're trying to go somewhere with it, they get lost and they forget where they were going. You know what I'm
Yep.
saying? Basically.
Yeah, man. Oh, okay. So, Jackie, my spiritual approach. How are you presenting yourself? All right. Well, to answer that question, I'm doing things with dowsing rods. I'm doing things with necrophonic apps. I'm doing things with um, divination techniques, tarot, pendulums. trying all kinds of different ways, even bringing out like EMF meters and tri-field meters that measure like radio frequency, all these different things that normally one would associate with ghost hunting. I'm trying to use those techniques. I'm trying to meditate. I'm trying to pray. I'm trying to actively manifest Sasquatch in my life, right? And I'm documenting it. Like I'm legitimately documenting it.
Mm-hmm.
I make videos of me doing this, and then the next day it happens, and I have it on film to a T. Like not one question was wrong. But you know, I here's the thing. People are gonna sit there and say, "Oh, well, you hoaxed it." Yeah, I hoaxed it. That's what I want to do with my life. I want to, oh,
Oh, what happened?
it's, I disappeared.
Yeah. Did you accidentally push
No,
something?
dude, I didn't touch anything. It says I'm still in the show. Oh, there we
There it
go.
is. There it is.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what happened, but it was just
Control
all
Alt
right.
Delete. Control Alt Delete. Abort. Abort.
F7, F7, F7.
Yeah.
Listen, man, I like to have fun too.
Yeah.
You know, I try to have as much fun with it as I can because guess what, man? If I'm not having fun doing this, then why am I doing this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like why? Jackie, I'm glad to hear you say that, and pretty soon we're gonna have a movie out about it, and hopefully, thanks, Amber. I appreciate it. I'm proud of you too. You've been doing awesome.
Mm-hmm.
You know, uh, hopefully the film will be out by September,
Oh,
or
really?
maybe even early summer. Yeah,
Wow.
we're making a documentary based on this stuff. Because what was,
Mm-hmm.
all right? So funny story.
Mm-hmm.
I had put together most of the data that I had collected from like the first couple months of me doing this, and I was gonna make it into a film. And I'm sitting there, I'm messing around with my Adobe Premiere. I spent several weeks every night when I wasn't doing a show, I was working on that film. Get it all the way to the end. I'm completely done with it. I can't get it to export out of Adobe Premiere.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, no. So, and then shortly after that, that's when the idea for the new thing came. And I realized that, that wasn't the film that I was supposed to do. 'Cause that one
Right.
was more that one was more like cakewalk. That was more like what everybody else sees on YouTube and
Do
Amazon.
you have a name for it already for the document
Yep.
documentary?
It's called From Fear to Understanding.
Okay.
Yep, because that's what it's
Nice.
about for me.
Right. Right.
Because my whole life I've been afraid of these things. And I can say that I've gone in just, this amount of time doing work on me and my spirit, doing work on the knowledge that I've obtained, and work on myself as a person. I've come to from fearing these things to understanding more about them, and that's all I'm going to say. The rest I just want everybody to see because this is my self expression. Like this is going to be something that no communities have seen before. Like I've seen a couple films
Mm-hmm.
where I've seen people kind of dabble into it a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But what I'm trying to do is something that's going to be like, okay, I'm cherry picking this, and now we're just going to try to apply it, and we're going to apply it in a very, very amazing way. We've had some me and my team. We've had some very out of the box things to try. We're going to spend a week filming in multiple locations because one of the things that I notice is that you go on a trip, and the first time that you go into a research area, you're really shiny, right? You're very interesting to them because they've never seen you before, right? Just like when somebody new walks into your house, you've never seen them before, or there's a new face at school, right? You've never seen that person before. He looks interesting. Let me go talk to him, right? They have that same mindset. So the very first night, within the first 24 hours, if you're going to get activity, you'll get activity. If you don't, you don't. And then the frequency of activity starts to die down after that 24-hour period. Sometimes, and like up to like 48 hours, and then after the 48 hours, it's done. You don't get it. You don't get nearly as much, if anything, and that's just my experience. Who knows? There's maybe more people out there who've had like a week full of experiences. That's not my experience so far. Who knows, man? Maybe in like 4 years from now, I will have an experience like that, and I'll be talking to him all the time, and I'll be sitting there on my front porch having coffee and a cigarette with a bunch of Sasquatch, and we're going to be talking about life's greatest mysteries. I don't know, man. But what I will tell you is that my experience so far has shown me that after 48 hours, it just kind of dies down. You're not as interesting. They've already checked you out enough to go, okay, you know what? I'm not going to interact with these guys. I'm just going to go do my thing. And that makes sense because guess what? They don't want to do what we do all the time, but they love to see our reactions. They love to be curious about new people.
Right.
So I'm trying to play off of that curiosity. Yeah, I want that scenario too, Laura. I want that so much more than my real life of going to work every day. And it's just one thing that I have to say is that my life has turned into a life beyond my wildest dreams, and I cannot get over that fact. I truly cannot. If you had told me 8 months ago that this is where I'd be right now, I would have laughed at you and be like, no way. Because what's funny is that by nature, I'm sort of a recluse, I'm sort of, and COVID made that like 10 times worse. I was like, oh, social distancing, I'm the best at that.
That's awesome. Hell yeah. I'm the
Yeah,
master.
man. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm not like Sasquatch level social
Right.
distance champion,
Right.
but I'm close.
Yeah. Yeah.
And who knows, man? Maybe that's why I get along with them, man. Maybe we're like, yeah, you're a hermit, I'm a hermit. We vibe together, but just stay away from me.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, Matt, I have a
What's up?
question for you, bro.
Yeah,
How
dude,
old
absolutely.
are you? Because you look very young, brother.
Why does everybody have to always go for that tactic, man? I hear that too often, and I wanna stop right now and say, no more ageism. Okay,
Yeah.
this is going to be hopefully the last time I ever have to answer
No.
this question. I'm
Hey,
I'm
you
30.
know why?
I'm
You
30.
know why the reason I'm at 30? Okay. Well,
Yeah.
you don't look 30. Well,
Yeah,
okay,
I
thank
know,
you.
but I can
Thanks
show you
for
my
sharing
driver's
that.
license. Yeah,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I wouldn't do it on a live stream though.
Thank you for sharing that, man. No, but no, because what I'm trying to get at is because you look so young, and yet you're very well spoken, and you're very knowledgeable for what I've seen so far. And well, I checked out your your show the other day when you invited me. You remember that?
Thank you. Yes, I do.
Yeah, yeah. And I was like, wow, dude, this dude's really well spoken, and he knows his shit basically. And I was like, and he looks so young though. You know what I mean? That kind of tripped me out. I was like, wow, that's crazy. And like I was telling you, like right before the backstage, I was telling you that you remind me so much of what's this guy's name? Damn it! Oh man, see that's the thing because I'm on live and I got to look at the all the comments and everything and speak with you all at the same time and then think about something that I want to bring up.
Amen. No
So
worries.
yeah, the guy's name's Tyler. Tyler, remember I was telling you earlier?
Yes, this is
From Secure Team 10, and he's very successful, man. and he's just like you. He talks like you, he acts like you, and he even looks like you, bro.
Oh
So
man, that's
I
scary.
just wanted to, yeah, I just wanted to tell you, man. I think you're gonna grow really big, man, really soon,
Maybe
really
maybe
fast.
I'm one of his government clones. I don't know.
Yeah, probably.
I'm just a plant.
But yeah, no,
I'm just
I'm just,
joking for everybody listening. I'm just joking. I'm not a government plant. Like I'm very anti-government if you get to know me.
yeah. And so, yeah, man, I just wanted to put that out there, man. That you look like you're gonna, grow really fast, really soon, bro. You're gonna do excellent in your
Yeah, well,
career.
thank you, thank you, man. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
And you know, it's not really about um, me setting a career.
Hmm.
Like I put it in my description of my channel, man. Like I'm not here looking for donations. Like if you want to donate to my PayPal, sure, go ahead. Like I'll just put it towards something towards like research or keeping the channel going. But I do this because I want to help people. I do this because I want to help myself. I do this because I think that this is a this well, I should say this. These
Hmm.
topics that we tend to talk about on these shows are very, very important.
Hmm.
Reason being is because this is people share some of their deepest, darkest secrets, right?
Hmm.
Right? Mostly they only say that in a confessional booth. You, right? Most people don't get into this subject matter because they had a jolly good time. This is stuff that freaked them out. This is stuff that they've harbored for years and years and carried all that emotional baggage. And, you know, they're finally setting themselves free of the burden. And, like, watching that stuff unfold, like, man, there's this, the therapeutic value of that for me, the therapeutic value of that for the guests, the very therapeutic value of that magic happening live in front of a live audience. Dude, like, it just doesn't get better than that. You don't.
Hmm.
Granted, maybe there's some people out there who aren't being honest about their story, but that's not for me to judge. That's not for anybody to judge.
Hmm.
And I want to make that clear, man, is that it's not for anybody to judge. Unless you were there, you can't say otherwise.
Hmm.
You know?
Right. Right.
You can't say it. Look, all right. And some of my friends here are about to get mad that I'm saying this. And I'm sorry. I'm sorry, but this is just like logically speaking. They put a man on the moon, right? They supposedly put a man on the moon.
Hmm.
Were you there?
Nope.
Can you prove it?
Nope.
Have you ever been to space? Where you've seen what
What
the
it's
Earth
like.
looks like and what
Hmm.
space is like? No? Well, then you
Nope.
can't say that something is 100% sure. If you've lived your life completely in the same city your whole life and all you've done is looked up at the sky, you can't say you know for sure what's out there. You haven't lived it, you haven't experienced it.
Absolutely.
So, so and I try to have that kind of logic and reasoning for just about like anybody who shares their story with me. Or oh man, I'm really blurry.
Yeah. The
Oh, let
focus
me
went
see.
out. There it is.
There we go. Um, because when we go into the mindset of everything that we know is truth, 100%,
Hmm.
then we're not being open minded. We're not being open to the possibility that we're going to learn something today. It's not about the end game. It's not being the smartest. It's about trying to be smarter.
Right.
It's the journey. It's not the goal. It's not
Hmm.
the finish line. It's the journey that gets us there.
Right.
And that's just with everything, man. Everything. Everything. And I even take that philosophy and I try to teach that to my children. Because if you're sitting there and all you're worried about is getting this thing or doing this thing or going to this one place,
Hmm.
and then you get there and you realize it's not what you expected, it's not as fun as you expected, then what was it for? So, for me, it's just about trying to enjoy the journey to get somewhere or to
Hmm.
get something, right?
Hmm.
because it's the journey that feeds your spirit. It's the journey up the mountain, not the view from the top.
Hmm.
You know, and that's just my take on everything.
Okay,
Everything, man.
that's awesome, man. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
I like that. I like looking at all kinds of different views. Like you said earlier, we're here to learn. Not to say, "Oh, I'm the best," or I do things my way and everybody else is wrong. No, no, no. It's you want to learn. You want to learn from every, perspective of different opinions of different people. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, man. Well, like
that's
that,
awesome.
like so far, I think the only thing that I said
Hmm.
that which I didn't say was completely wrong. It's just not for me an agreeable approach is being
Hmm.
100% science. That's the only thing that I won't agree, because I just believe that we shouldn't be trying to narrow the spectrum. We should be trying to broaden the spectrum.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
science to me, if something doesn't, all right, let's take gorillas for example. No one knew that gorillas existed until like the 1950s.
That is true.
A giant ape out there. People have been living in. All right, so let's just say we came from
Around
the cradle of civilization, which was in Africa. People
Africa,
have been
the
living in
desert.
Africa for a very long time. How did we not? How did none of them know that gorillas that they existed? How do we not know? Because we didn't take their word of mouth from their stories that depicted that they existed. We just ignored them until we actually found them in the rainforests out there.
Yes. Yes.
So,
Hmm.
you know,
Exactly.
you, you,
That's
you, t-
exactly.
you,
Hmm.
you if you take that same kind of knowledge and go, okay, well, there's been stories of Sasquatch and Bigfoot and Dogman and spirits and aliens and all these different things. They've been in our written history for a long time.
Hmm.
Egyptian hieroglyphs, Aboriginal paintings of the Yowie in Australia.
Hmm.
There has always been depictions and tales of these amazing beings. But because we don't have physical evidence yet, everybody says it's not real because it doesn't fit into normal scientific parameters. Listen,
Right.
man, everybody was like, "Oh, no," people were depicting dragons and stuff and all kinds of lores all over the world.
Hmm.
But guess what? It wasn't until we started digging in the dirt and finding bones of dinosaurs. We're like, oh my god, maybe this was a possibility because there was flying dinosaurs. Who knows if they actually breathed fire or not, but or breathed. I think I might have misspoke there. What is the past tense of breathe? Is it anyway?
Breathe. Yeah, breathe.
Breathed. I think it's
Breathe.
breathed. See, look, I'm learning something new that I'm not
No, I
100%
think it's
perfect
just
at
breathe.
grammar.
I think it's just
Maybe it
breathe.
is breathe. Yeah, maybe. All
Yeah.
right, whatever. Anyway,
Yeah.
you know,
Hmm.
I like to poke fun at myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
That's
anyway,
cool.
anyway,
Hey. Yeah. No,
there's a
absolutely.
lot of different things that we didn't know until we had people who were like, you know what? There's been a lot of written and like oral history,
Hmm.
written history accounts. Let's keep looking into this until they finally got an answer. Until they
Hmm.
finally actually proved its existence. You know,
Right.
for me, I already know it's not one of my heart's desires to prove to everybody that it's real or not. My goal is to help people embark on a journey of spirit into finding the answer for themselves,
Right.
and that's it.
Right.
And I hope that the
And that's
scientific
great.
community will look at that and
You're right. And that's
maybe
great that
go,
you're doing that.
"Oh, thank
That
you, I
is good.
appreciate it.
Yeah, that is great.
I'm doing it completely unashamed and unabashed. I'm just doing my thing."
Right. Right.
I have no regrets or remorse, and if I offend somebody, I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry because this is what I, within my American rights, believes to be true. And, we
Right.
live in America. We're not. Shout out to all the
Exactly.
people in other
Yes.
countries that
Yes.
don't get those freedoms.
Right. Right. Right.
Listen, it's not every country that you're allowed to be a filmmaker just because you want to be a filmmaker.
Right.
Not everybody has that freedom, and
No.
this is in 2022.
Yeah. Not every country has that freedom. You're absolutely right. Yeah.
Where am I?
Oh, I'm sorry. Let me
No, no,
look
no,
up
that's
that.
fine. I can read it on this other section.
Okay. Hey, so Matt, I was thinking
Mm.
if it was okay with you, maybe you could share your encounter, your first encounter now.
Oh, my first encounter.
Yeah, yeah.
All right.
You were 8 years old, right? That's
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
crazy. I can't wait to hear this, man. I
All
haven't heard
right.
this, by the way, everybody. He just kind of gave me a brief, but not the whole thing. So yeah, tell us everything, man. With with all the with everything that comes to mind, like Vic says.
Yeah, man. Um, so to give you a little
Hmm.
bit of. All right. So down in the in the year 2000,
Hmm.
my grandmother lived in a house
Hmm.
that was across the street from like a what was called like a wetland preserve, right?
Hmm.
And we live well, we still live, but at that time we were even closer to the beach, right?
Right.
So there is the
And
beach,
what state was this in? Was this
Florida.
Florida? Okay.
Yep, Florida,
Alrighty.
specifically South Florida,
Okay.
southeast. So there's the beach, and then there's what is called an intercoastal, right, where we've
Hmm.
connected the land bar, like the land barrier that's there, and turned it into, at part of civilization, whatever. Back then in 2000, it was just a massive pine land slash mangrove swamp that kind of like they met together and it just went on for miles. Okay.
Hmm.
We were like, there was like a set rows of houses that went down this one street where she lived on, and it just stopped right there at the end. And on the other side of that was the intercoastal, and then on the other side of that was that little bit of land, and on the other side of that was the ocean.
Mm. Okay.
Which this is a story that a lot of people might not, that probably gets a little bit of flack because everyone's like, "Oh no, Sasquatch would never live there. They have to be super remote and they have to be,
Hmm.
in the middle of the forest." This doesn't make any sense. Well, we're talking about a potential animal that can move wherever the hell it wants. But anyway, so when we were kids, we were told that we weren't supposed to go over across there by ourselves. Now, mind you, growing up, we had always been told because my parents used to take us out to the real deep Everglades and be like, "Hey, listen, you guys stay in the back of this truck. Don't get out of it in the middle of the night because the skunk ape's gonna get you."
Mm.
Like that's what we grew up hearing,
Yeah, yeah.
and so my parents would also tell us to not go across the street over there and not go out by ourselves because there was monkeys that lived in the neighborhood. And I will attest to the fact, and I try to remember to say this every time that I share this story,
Hmm.
is that I have seen monkeys down there.
Hmm.
And most of the ones did not look like what I'm going to describe in my story. And for most of my life, I didn't share this story because I thought I just must have seen something that, like, it was just a different monkey. And that's just kind of what I was always told and what I was, what I thought. Until I realized until I got older and realized what a Sasquatch was, and then I
Hmm.
wasn't telling anybody because I didn't want anybody to think I was crazy. So there's that. So anyway, we were told we weren't supposed to go over there by ourselves, and I did. And it was about all right. So the trail was a little bit further down to the left of where my grandmother's house was, and it was like where you could possibly two bike riders, right, could go in at the same time and go all and it would go in and then it would cut to the right and it went all the way down to where the intercoastal was, and then it would stop. And on either side of this, it kind of so here's the trail and it kind of curved down into like a ditch, and on
Hmm.
that north side was where the mangroves started. A little bit further down the trail was right where it had, before it had made that right. That's where it was starting to shift from pine land to mangrove.
Right.
So anyway, I was just being a kid, being dumb, going across there because I just wanted to play in there and I wanted to grab some crabs and play with them. So I had went down I had walked down the trail some, went off down to where the trail met that mangrove spot. And I'm sitting there, down there, looking around with a stick, and I'm digging into these little holes that I see everywhere, trying to pull a crab out. And I hear some movement to my right. And it was like something, it was like a limb broke. And I was like, and I look up and I look over, and it was maybe, I was a kid at the time. I don't really know if I'm guesstimating the distance, but I could see it pretty clearly because the image of it is kind of burned into my skull. So I want to say it was maybe about like 10, 15, 20 feet away from me. So it was not that far. But because I was looking up at it, like this. Because I'm sitting down, I'm crouched down in a position, and it was turned, it had its head turned to its left, and I'm on its right. And I'm looking up at this thing, I'm like, what is that? Like, I don't understand. And then it turned and it looked at me. And I've only ever heard a couple people describe it this way. The exchange of the looks, it felt almost like it was an eternity of looking into this thing's face and looking into its eyes. Because when it had turned its head, I was very confused about the fact that when the light hit it, it almost like shimmered. It wasn't the same color as the other part that was still in like the darkness, because the whole trail itself had trees, like a canopy of trees over it. So when it had turned, one of those beams of light that was coming through was catching him on. Let me just make some reversed. This part of his head. This part of its head was illuminated, right? So I could see its eye down to the pupil. It had like amber color eyes, and its pupils were huge.
Wow.
But like they were huge, and I could still see iris. Like it was massive. It was, well, to me anyway, because at the time I was probably like maybe 3 or 4 feet, if that.
Mm-hmm.
And
I'm sorry. I'm sorry to interrupt real quick.
yeah, go ahead.
I've always wondered if Sasquatch, really do have those type of eyes. Like the one from Jack Link's, where it's kind of amberish and reddish at the same time.
Well, I think that they all have different eyes.
Mm-hmm.
I think that they're just like us. You know how you have brown eyes, I have blue eyes. My brother has green eyes. He's my brother and he has green eyes, I have blue eyes.
Right.
So like I think that they're, because I've seen some people describe them as amber, I've seen some people describe them as red, I've seen some people describe them as black. I've seen people describe them green. I've heard some green ones. I've heard some blue ones. There's all kinds of different description of what their eyes are,
Yellow,
what their eyes shine.
yellow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was more, and I say it was like an orangish amber color. Was what I seen it in the light.
Mm-hmm.
And he just looked at me. He, she, whatever. I'm pretty sure it was a he. I don't remember seeing any breasts or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
But he just turned and he looked at me and I looked at him, and it was like this stoic like looking back on the memory, it was like stoic analyzation of, because I don't think he was expecting to see me. He just wasn't sure what the hell was making that noise. And I was sure as not expecting to see him, because he was about 6-7 foot. I had never seen the only person that I could say that was similar to its build and height that I even knew at the time was my uncle, who was like maybe like 6'3", 6'4". I had never seen a person that big.
Right.
I'd never seen anything that big. So we sat there and we just looked at each other, and I sat there frozen and he sat there frozen, and he was looking at me and I was looking at him.
Just staring. Both of y'all just staring at each other.
Yep. And then I ran. I finally got the gall to run, and he let me run. And I ran all the way home, and I was crying because I didn't know what the hell I just seen.
Wow.
And that's basically how the story ends.
Wow. That's awesome, bro.
You know, and there is one thing that I will say this: the first time that I started, like I started sharing that story, I didn't acknowledge the length of time that we sat there and we looked at each other,
Mm-hmm.
and what I had actually seen, because I didn't think what people, I didn't know what people would say if I said that, you know, I seen that part of its hair was, you know, basically shape shifting in front of my face.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I didn't know how people felt about that, and but it did. You know, I mean, it felt like eternity to me, but most likely, in all reality, it was probably maybe a minute, and I freaking, if that, and I hauled out of there.
Wow.
But you know, it felt like it really did. It really felt like eternity
Wow.
because I was staring at something that I just couldn't understand, and
Couldn't wrap your
because
mind around it.
and the thing was is that the monkeys that I had seen, they were small enough to hang as a troop on the power lines behind our house.
Mm-hmm.
Well, behind my grandmother's house. So like I had seen monkeys, and like it didn't have a tail. This thing was tall, and it was thin, and it was muscular. It was almost like LeBron James type of build.
Just with
You know,
Harry, like the
yeah,
Teen
it
Wolf
was.
guy, right?
No,
Remember
I won't
Teen
say.
Wolf?
I won't
Harry
say.
like that? No.
I won't say Teen Wolf. No.
Okay. What do you? Well, how long was his hair? Do you think?
If I had to give an estimate, I would say it was about 4 to 5 inches in length all around his body.
That's
And
pretty
it
big. I mean, that's pretty long.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, realistically, it's only like maybe like that long,
Mm-hmm.
but it was long
But
and matted.
wavy.
Yeah,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
but the interesting thing was it wasn't like it wasn't like super thick like it would be like a hide.
Mm-hmm.
It was more like it was hair that should have been on a head but everywhere, if that makes any sense.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense? I don't know.
Not really. I'm trying to picture it in my mind right now, but I'm like,
Well,
okay.
no. All right, hold on.
Trying to figure out like what
This
long
kind of
hair looks
hair,
like.
it was just
Uh-huh.
like this, but it was everywhere.
Everywhere. Wow.
Yeah.
Hey, and was there any part of his body hair that was matted? You know, like the Rastas. You know what I mean? Like the Rasta guys that
I
leave it
didn't.
all.
Not that I can remember.
No,
No.
because you know
I
how like when you see like stray dogs out in the street and out in the boondocks or whatever, hills or whatever, they normally have like matted spots in their because they never shower, they never bathe, they never anything.
well,
So
the
that's my
way that
question:
I
why
will
don't they
describe
have
it,
that? Mm-hmm.
I mean, I know that some people do describe them that way.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen it like said before that they had like like really matted and like unkempt
Mm-hmm.
fur.
Right.
That's just not what I remember. But then again, I didn't really get a good look at its body. Like I got like I could see it from a side profile, and then it's just slightly like this. So I only see like a little bit of the side
Side
profile.
and the side
But it
of
was
his
its face that I
face.
remember.
Right.
You know,
Wow. Hey,
flatter nose.
hey, if any of you guys in the chat have any questions, go ahead and ask them, and I'll put them up for Matt. Oh,
Yeah,
sorry.
absolutely.
Go ahead, Matt.
Well, no, I was just saying.
Please continue.
It was flatter nose, wider
Right.
nostrils. I wouldn't say that it had like the chimpanzee or baboon mouth. It was more like something in between us and that. That's the best way that I can describe it. But it had a pronounced jawline, for sure.
Wow.
And if anybody in the chat wants to see what that looks like, I will be on Drawing Bigfoot next Tuesday on Bigfoot Odyssey.
Nice.
Talk about the color of it. It was like a darker blackish, grayish color when it was in the darkness, but when that beam of light came over it, it was kind of shifting in between like an amberish color to almost silverish type of look. Like all, and at some point, like we're on this part of its head, it was completely see through.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it was basically like a glow. You know how? Well, I mean, you said his was like black, dark brown, right? But did it have like a glow to it when the sun ray hit it? You know, the hair coming down like that when you were looking up at it. Did
Yeah,
you
I mean,
see anything like that?
I guess it would be like kind of like a glow, but
Right.
what I've come to find with talking with people who are more researchers than I am,
Mm-hmm.
and who have analyzed my and after analyzing my hair that I found and hairs that have been found before, um, oh man, I'm gonna have to give this guy a call in a minute. Um, yeah, uh, it's I'm sorry. I'm so sorry
No,
that I
no,
just
you're good.
totally spaced out. I got a phone
Yeah, because
call.
of the phone call. Yeah, I know. It threw
Yeah,
you off. Right.
it threw me off.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was more like I'm sorry. I don't like to name drop people. I feel like I don't like doing that. I just don't. I don't even really like name dropping people on my own show.
Hmm.
But I will say that I've heard a couple people describe them as being like translucent completely,
Hmm.
being like the predator type of thing.
Hmm.
That one part of its head that was fully in the light was basically translucent. And I'm sorry for my little bit of a lisp when I pronounce that
Hmm.
word,
Hmm.
but translucent.
Hmm.
It's just that's what it looked like. And what I've come to find and realize after talking to people who've seen more and everything, that they have achromatic like skin and they have achromatic hair. So it makes total sense that as the light's hitting it one way and I'm on the opposite end of that light spectrum, when the light was hitting it, it was turning into the forbidden light spectrum right there. But
Hmm.
the other part of its body that I could see, because it wasn't being shown like light on it, I just should I
Oh,
answer that question again,
yeah, yeah. Go ahead and answer it.
or is there just like a delay? Am I getting a delay?
No, I think he might have just popped out and popped back in
Oh,
for a second. Hmm.
the side that wasn't in the light, it was like a darkish gray, blackish, like
Hmm.
type of color almost.
Hmm.
Like if you took some black paint
Hmm.
and then put some white in it, just a little bit of white, and then mixed it up. That was kind of what it was like. And then the part of it that had the light shining on it, it kind of went from like amberish color, and in one area where the light was directly on it, it was basically translucent. It was like almost invisible. Like I could see it was there, but it had no main color. And
Mm. Right, right. So maybe because of the light or the sunbeam
yeah, I
made
mean
it kind of translucent. Hmm.
it could have been that, or it could be the fact that they have achromatic skin and hair. Because if they have achromatic skin and hair, that also explains why we can't get a good picture of them. And it also explains why most people who encounter them, like they just say that they disappear. Maybe they just went around a tree and just blend into it.
Yeah, and you know what? A lot of people say that they like partially disappear. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
they could stand behind a tree and you can see its like shoulder, you can see its face, it's whatever, but you can't see the rest of the body behind the trees. Like nothing's there, and it
You
doesn't
know,
make sense. It's just like they're
also,
partially cloaking, kind of.
yeah, yes,
Yeah,
exactly. You know, a lot of
yeah.
people call it the cloaking or whatever, but
Hmm.
I think that it's a biological animal. I'm sorry. Whoa, I don't like the fact that I just said animal.
Mm.
It's a biological being.
Hmm.
with abilities. What those abilities are, no one knows.
Right, right.
I can tell you some stuff and sound completely crazy, but I have no actual basis and anything to back that up because I haven't put anything that I have to back it up out yet. So I'm not going to say what that is.
Do you remember that little article that I told you I read earlier today or yesterday? I can't remember. Because every day I look up, Bigfoot, Dogman, every day. I mean, this is every day. I'm like traumatized with cryptids, bro. Like, really. I wake up listening to them. I go to sleep listening to them. I put my earphones in and listen to whatever show, cryptid, show, whatever. And I fall asleep to that. And I wake up, my earphones like down on the ground or whatever. But anyway, so I was just looking at that article right now, this morning, right? And it said that there was a lady that had them on their property. These were dogmen now, but they
Mm.
were so nice, and she understood them so well, and she just respected them. She said she respected them like she would respect a pack of wolves, just like that. Not like people,
Okay.
but not like a regular animal either. Just like respect, like a wolf. But
Yeah,
she
like you
said,
would respect a lion.
yeah, yeah, and she said that they spoke better English than us, like better English than us, like well spoken English. You know what I mean? Like I would like to, kind of compare with British, which is like the most right way to speak it or whatever, kind of like that. But they would walk around like nothing, and wouldn't bother anybody. Walk around their premises. They wouldn't try to hide or anything. And this was just a story now. I mean, but this is what I read that she said, the lady said, and that they told her that they use 50% of their brain capacity, not 10 like us. So I'm like, wow, man, that's crazy. I mean, if that was true, I was like, wow, dude, that's crazy. That's something we would never know, you know, unless one would tell us directly. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely.
So I'm like, wow.
Well, we have to get ourselves, especially if you're somebody who wants to have an experience with these creatures, you have to get yourself prepared and into the right mind state.
Hmm.
You have to be willing to grow as a person. I think a lot of people, when Sasquatch, Dogmen, UFOs, whatever,
Hmm.
appear to people, I think it's an opportunity for spiritual growth
Yes, and
in one form or another.
right, and also like you were telling me in our pre-interview that we had the other day, that you do believe the same as I do, that everything is connected,
Yes,
like
absolutely.
Bigfoot, Dogman, whatever, cryptids, UFO, aliens, all that is connected. And a lot of my friends, people here that are on the chat that know me and that we known each other for a while, they agreed to that too. A
Yeah,
lot of
man.
them.
I mean, I wholeheartedly agree with that, man. There's too many accounts of people who encounter uh, Dogman and Sasquatch together, Dogman and aliens together, aliens and
Hmm.
paranormal activity. Like
Yep.
there's all of it has to be connected in some sort of way.
Yep. There's people that see a or have a dogman encounter or a Bigfoot encounter and see a UFO right before or after that, and they
Yep.
relate it to that. So it's like, wow. Hey, I have a question here, Matt from Al Santorica, my good buddy. He says, did it have a conical head?
Conical head.
Conical, yeah, like a
Yes.
cone, I
Yeah.
guess. Yeah.
Yes, it did, but it wasn't like. Um, if I could describe it with my hands, it was more like that. It wasn't like it was a
A
perfect like
perfect
point.
triangle
It
or
was more
point.
kind of like it went up
Right.
like this.
Oh, towards the back.
Hmm.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Cool. Cool. There you go, Al. That's my good friend Al.
Oh, awesome. Very nice to meet you.
Yeah, Al Santori. We call him the Godfather of cryptid and paranormal.
Oh, really?
Very knowledgeable brother. 30 plus years. Yes.
Very cool. I
Yes.
would definitely
Become
like to talk to
Goomba.
him one day.
Yeah,
Oh,
man.
okay.
Yeah, you should. I like to call him fratello. Fratello means brother in Italian. I speak a little bit of Italian.
Oh, okay.
And he's Italian, so yeah.
Ah,
That's why I brought that up. But
no
yeah,
worries.
he's a great guy, man. He's very, very knowledgeable, and yeah, maybe you should hook up with him sometime, man.
Yeah,
Maybe you
yeah,
you can even bring him on your show
yeah.
because he's done a couple of shows with me already. So
Oh,
yeah,
cool. Yeah, I'll
Yes,
definitely have to
sir.
get that information for you.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. So yeah, man. What else did you want to bring up on as far as Sasquatch and?
Oh, that I believe that everybody has the ability to manifest them in their lives.
Hmm.
Listen, just like we manifest things through prayer and meditation, whether it's positive vibes and positive things happening in our life, the same thing can happen with anything you want in your life. Whether you want to call it a coincidence or a godwince or synchronicities or a miracle or whatever,
Hmm.
I truly believe that you can do it. And that's what I'm trying to accomplish with the work that I do. And hopefully by the end of it, you guys will have something very awesome to witness.
Yeah.
We're still in the filming phase
Hmm.
and collecting all the evidence and things like that. But by the time the film comes out, if the conclusion, well, I've already talked about this before. Regardless of whatever the conclusion is of how my experiments play out, I will release it, whatever it is. Because I mean, at the end of the day, for me, if I do an experiment 5 times and it only happens 3 out of the 5, that's still good enough for me. You know, I don't expect these things to be totally 100% accurate all the time.
Hmm.
But what I can say is that so far it has been 100% accurate for me, 100% of the time for me so far. You know,
Hmm.
but that's why we're trying to take this to a whole different level.
Let me ask you $1 million question, Matt. Do you think? Because I don't think I've asked this before to any Sasquatch researcher or eyewitness. Do you think that there will come a time when uh, Sasquatch and man will coincide? Like be friends and accept one another and just live life. Do you think there's a possibility of that or no? What's your take on that, bro?
That's a very loaded question.
Hmm.
I hope. I hope. But you know what that would require?
Hmm.
Now, it would require the mass awakening of billions of people across the planet.
Yes, and that's
And
very hard.
and
That's very hard to
unfortunately,
do.
I don't necessarily have the belief that that's going to happen for everybody.
Hmm.
But I will say this is that I believe that there will be a time where these creatures and we are currently living in those times, the beginning of those times right now.
Hmm.
There has been, from what I understand, I don't know if it's due to more accessible technology or not, but there's more people who are actively having encounters
Hmm.
now within the last 5 years
Right.
than
Yes. They've
way, way
doubled,
before.
tripled. Yeah. Yeah.
So whether that's a
Hmm.
thinning of the veil, whether it's a sign of the times, whether it is, these creatures are becoming more comfortable with us, or these creatures have a message that they're trying to teach us. It's quite possible that they're trying to get us all out in the woods to get away from the way that our society is turning. Maybe they see us becoming such zombies and worrying about nothing but TikToks and money and our jobs, and they want us to be awake.
Yeah. Yeah.
That it's a
That's
very
why.
high
Yeah.
possibility.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's Armageddon coming, and they're like, "Hey guys, you need to come and realize what the real world is before that happens." I don't know, but that is a hope for me. I
Yeah.
hope I hope that one day, like I said earlier, I would love to be sitting on a porch with a couple of my Sasquatch friends. Maybe dipping out of a jar of peanut butter. Like, yeah, man, let's just sitting there having some coffee and debunking the world's greatest mysteries together.
Yes.
I would
Yes.
love to have a Sasquatch on my research team.
I would love to too, man. Like I would love to just meet him like a friend. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And just be open and nobody's scared no more. Nobody's you know what whacking out or whatever from seeing it or whatever. You know what I mean? It's like a normal thing, just like
Yeah.
any other animal or whatever that unknown basically. Sorry,
Yeah.
not animal. I don't mean
Whatever it
animal, but
is.
just like any other animal that we see and we're not scared of. That's what I meant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like I said, man, I think that a general consensus that man has to either evolve or de-evolve,
Hmm.
whichever way you want to look at it. But we need to, as a species, be better than
Hmm.
what we have been. Regardless of what your stance is on some of the things that are going on in the world right now,
Hmm.
there's a lot of hate out there. And until we can get that hate and skepticism and fear and doubt out of our hearts as a people, I don't think that until that happens, Sasquatch are going to be one to hang out with us too much. Because guess what? Because of our fear, we put them and their lives at risk.
So do you think it's gonna take a long, very long time for that to happen if it does happen?
Yeah, I doubt it'll happen in my lifetime.
Yeah, me too.
My hope is that I get to have another face-to-face encounter and validate what I've experienced so far. I would love for them to be like, "Hey, man, listen, you weren't crazy. You did see what you see, and that experience you had that day on that mountain, it was legit. Like we were there for you because we wanted to get you here." I would love for that to happen and be like, "Yeah, man, I'm totally validated. Woohoo!" Like I don't care what anybody says from this point. No, I mean, I already feel like my faith and understanding of what I've learned and encountered and how I've come to grips with it all, I don't think that can be shaken in any way at this point. But
Hmm.
that extra validation from them would be nice. But
Right.
do I
That's
think that
that's
they're,
that's if we don't blow up each other first. You know what I mean?
hey man,
Because you know what I mean, though.
eh, World War III
Yeah, I mean, if
potentially on our
yeah,
doorstep?
yeah,
I highly doubt it's gonna happen though.
yeah, me too. But I mean,
I
it's
I mean,
not.
it's scary. It's scary.
Yeah,
It's been a long time
it might not happen
since
now, but
we've
it could
had.
happen in the future. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
it can
So,
happen in the future. I'll give an estimate about 200 years from now.
yeah, about 200.
About 200 years from now, we won't be around anymore
Yeah,
because
I
we're gonna
agree.
blow ourselves up.
I agree.
And I can tell you backstage why I think it's exactly 200 years from now, but that's a story for another time.
Okay. All right.
But anyway, man, I'm gonna have to get going. I gotta wake up at
Yeah.
5 o'clock in the morning. I got an expedition in the morning.
Yeah, absolutely, man. No, no, no.
Does
You're
anybody
perfect.
does see if anybody else has any more questions for me? If
Yeah,
they, and
yeah.
then if not,
Right, right. Yeah. Does anybody else have any more questions, guys? Please, before we shut it down, because we are at an hour and a half exactly. So yeah, that's what I was shooting for.
cool,
Matt. So we're doing good, man. We're doing
good,
real
good,
good.
good.
And the chat was just man, it was just popping tonight, man. The chat, man, I couldn't keep up with all the comments because you know how I put up, like the best comments or whatever. I
Yeah,
couldn't keep up, man. There were so many. It's like, ah. But yeah, there's so many people here to see you tonight, man. Which is good.
good. I'm glad.
I'm glad. Yeah, I'm glad it turned out really good tonight.
I,
We had a good
I don't
turnout.
think that I personally don't think that I'm anything special, but people like to hear me talk, I guess. So,
Yes, yes, I can see
I
that. Yeah,
appreciate it. I
yeah.
appreciate all the love that people have shown me since I've, started doing this thing,
Right, right.
you
No,
know.
you're good. You're a great guy, man. I'm telling you, you're going places, man. I know it. I know it. When I see it, I know it. You know what
Well,
I mean?
good.
Yeah.
Hey, real quick,
Hmm.
you say you see it and you know it. Just
Hmm.
so you know, um, you yourself might have some sort of latent abilities. You might have the ability of foresight in some sort of manner.
Wow. Yeah.
Just,
Explain that
just
to me on Messenger when you get a chance.
Yeah, man.
I'd
Because
like to hear more
all
about
right,
that.
let me ask you a question. Like, do you
Hmm.
just look at something and you kind of just know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do.
It's either deep intuitive understanding that you're subconsciously understanding something
Mm-hmm.
before you're consciously understanding it,
Mm-hmm.
or you're seeing something
Right.
that you see an outcome before it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, we'll talk
Yeah.
about it more backstage.
Okay. Yeah. 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 Thank you, man. Yeah, because there's a lot of things that I even I'm scared to say it, but like I see it happening before it happens, and
Mhm.
then it happens. And I'm like, yeah, I was
Yeah,
right. You know what I mean?
yeah,
I'm like,
yeah.
oh,
I do that all the
I hate
time.
that. It
Well,
could be
well,
good,
well
it could be bad. You know what I mean? But I can see
yeah,
it.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah. It it's either extremely advanced deductive reasoning happening in your brain that you're able to go, okay, this is gonna happen because I see the entire steps of how this is gonna go, or you just
Hmm.
know.
Hmm.
It's a toss up between which one of those are until we can actually get into a brain and fully see how 100% of a brain works. Um, but until that day, it's a good question to ponder. But the
Yeah.
phenomenon happens. It happens to
Yeah.
me every day,
Yeah.
every day.
And I think it's because I push my brain so much that I think it's got that, like ability to do that without me even knowing about it. You know what I mean? Like I can't even explain it to myself, why it happens, but
Hey
it
man,
just does
listen,
because I like
I,
to, you know,
I got some homework for you if you're willing.
yeah, yeah,
Instead of trying to push your brain, push your spirit.
yeah,
Try to push your
absolutely,
spirit and watch what happens.
yes,
You're gonna see those synchronicities
yes,
lining up so much more in your life. You're gonna be like, oh
yes.
my god, whoa,
Yeah, I think I'm like a diamond in the brute. You know what I mean? I need
yeah.
some polishing. I need some training, mind training. Stuff like
Everybody
that.
does.
Hmm.
Everybody does. And I like to sit on that stance because I think that if everybody worked on, like, all right, even people who practice organized religion, they're only tapping into one aspect. And I give 12-step programs a lot of credit because the people who wrote those 12-step program books, they
Hmm.
realized that through prayer and meditation, they could experience a spiritual awakening through prayer and meditation, because prayer is having the faith, meditation is doing the work
Right, right.
of harnessing and polishing your spirit with your mind, your heart, your soul, your body. And quite frankly, you're gonna see some stuff. You're gonna see a lot of crazy things
Yeah.
start. Well, I would say they're not crazy. You're gonna start seeing it in your everyday life. Like, you're gonna be like real tied up for money, and then you're gonna go, man, like I don't know, but like you're keeping your faith, you're staying strong, you're doing your prayer, you're doing your meditation, and like, your heart's vibe is saying like I need a little bit of help, and then the next thing you know, you're gonna use it, you're gonna get this feeling, you're gonna be like, all right, let me go buy a scratch off ticket. You're gonna scratch that scratch off ticket, and then
Hmm.
bam, it's the exact amount of money you needed to scrape by.
Right.
Like little things like that, you
Hmm.
know. And it's possible. It's just about manifesting it in your life, and the only way you can manifest things in your life is through prayer and meditation. We've
See, I
been
think
doing
I
it for a
think I
long
tap
time.
into that. I think I tap into that little, special place in my mind, like subconsciously,
Hmm.
that I can see things happening, and then they happen. Like I said, whether good,
Yeah.
if it's good, I'm like, hell yeah, I knew that was gonna happen, and if it's bad, I'm like, fuck, I knew that was gonna happen. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
like
Exactly.
you're fucked either way. You know what I mean? Either or.
Yeah. Yeah,
It's
man.
crazy, but yeah, I just gotta learn how to, like, how do you say uh how to what do you say, dude? Like master it, you know what I mean,
Yeah.
or
How to
learn
hone
to use
how to
it.
hone the ability.
Yeah, yeah, or learn to use it because I don't know
Yeah.
how to. I don't know. I need to learn how to use
Well, hey man, you ever have any questions? You got me
it.
as a
Thank you,
resource.
thank you.
Yeah,
Yes,
man, hit me up.
absolutely. Yes, yes, sir. Absolutely, bro. Well, thank you, Matt. It looks like there's no more questions. There's just all like good, good
Good
vibes and
feedback. Yeah.
good feedback. Yeah, that was a great show, and Matt,
Yeah.
so
Absolutely.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So okay, well, thank you guys, everybody that showed up, man. Like I always like to say, thank you everybody that showed up tonight. Uh, it was a blast in the chat. I seen that, and I was going kind of trying to keep up with them. But yeah, thank you everybody for showing out. And we'll see y'all next time, man. And I really hope you guys enjoyed Matt as much as I did, because I really enjoyed it.
Good. I'm glad. I hope
Yes,
everybody
yes,
has a good
man.
night. Stay safe, and
Yes,
send out prayers, positivities as much as you
yes.
can throughout your lives, guys.
Stay positive. Stay positive. That's what it is. That's what it's all about, man. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
No matter how hard life gets, you got to stay positive and keep going, brother. That's the way I
Absolutely.
see it.
That's the way I
Yep.
see it too. I didn't always, but
Right.
I'm living proof to tell you that it's
Yeah. No,
possible.
we've all been through hard times, but you just gotta keep pushing, man. Life knocks you
Absolutely.
down, but it's about how fast you get back up and keep going. Yep.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir. Well, all right, man. I think that's pretty much it, guys. For all the comments, thank you, everybody, and thank you, Matt. Man, I really appreciate you coming out tonight, brother.
No
And
problem.
I will be
Anytime.
keeping in touch with you, and we can
Absolutely,
talk
man.
more about what you just mentioned. Okay, bro?
All
I'll
right,
hit you
guys.
up. All right,
Sounds
man.
good. Sounds good, man.
All right. Thank you, everybody, and thank you for coming out. See you on the next show. Thank you, Carlito. Peace out. Thank you, Matt.